If one person listens to this podcast and finds some inspiration in any way, shape, or form to better themselves, we define that as success. And if you listen to this podcast and break into the industry, please reach back out to us and come on the show and tell us how you did it. Tell us your break-in strategy, because that's just what we have today. Jameson Thornock is a recent graduate and listener of the Breaking and Entering podcast. He's a graduate of the well-known BYU Ad Lab, and he is fresh in his role as a junior art director at RGA. Jameson offers value to current college students and recent grads looking to break in the industry because he just did it. We go over expectations, daily roles and responsibilities, tips, and advice to land your first job. And I'll stamp this podcast as a great reminder of the importance of the fundamentals of getting a job. And I also love how Jameson is so honest. He tells us what he knows and what he doesn't so far in his career. It's a glimpse into where you will be in no time. So to connect with Jameson and to see his recommended resources just for you, please head over to our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod. That's all one word, Breaking and Entering Pod on Instagram. So we have resources listed and the portfolio that got him hired there for your reference. And to Spotify users, in probably 3 seconds, you can help us out by pressing the star button on our profile and hitting 5 stars for us. And none of you have to worry about leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. Despite helping our SEO and podcast get to more of our target audience, we know that takes too long, but it would still be really helpful. And I just mentioned portfolio earlier. If you are looking to break into creative and strategic advertising, you need a portfolio. If you want to break into award-winning agencies, however, you need a great portfolio. And if you don't know where to start, Chicago Portfolio School makes great portfolios in 1 year. I say this because it's true and I work there, but I wouldn't steer you in the wrong direction, I promise. So reach out to me or head to chicagoportfolio.com for more info. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast, and as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right, Jameson Thornock. Thornock or Thornick?
Thornock.
Thornock.
Like Thor and knock.
Nice. Thornock. Jameson Thornock. How are you doing? Cool name. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This is gonna be a good one.
No, thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm really looking forward to it. I've listened to you for a while now, and so excited to help others as they've helped me.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. We were talking about this before, and if you listen to this show and you break into advertising, reach out, come on the show and tell us how you did it. And that's what Jameson's done. I'm willing to do that with other people. So, you're at a great agency right now. You're at RGA. I just learned that you're in the San Francisco office. I don't know if you're in person. You're probably not in person, but tell us about, before we even talk about your role, let's talk about you. Who are you? Who is Jameson Thornock? What are you about?
Name's Jameson Thornock. I'm a junior art director at RGA in their California, San Francisco office. I don't think there's really much past that. Yeah, I'm an art director. I'm married. I recently got married last January, so coming up on a year now.
Congrats.
Recent grad from BYU. I'm not in office yet, so I'm still in Provo, where we graduated from college. So working remote, it's been interesting, but that's it's all part of the fun, I'd say.
Yeah. Where'd you grow up?
I actually grew up in Utah, so I grew up about an hour north of BYU. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that is BYU is a school associated with the church.
Is there any other school that is associated with that church?
There's BYU Idaho,
okay,
and then BYU Hawaii. I think I'm not sure if there's any
BYU Hawaii sounds fun.
Yeah, I've heard that is. My wife attended there for a year, and she said it was so fun, like surfing every day,
Yeah.
homework on the beach. I couldn't imagine anything better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. And obviously, BYU's home to the famous Ad Lab.
Yes,
Or
yep. So
so
yeah. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say you probably. I mean, how did you like? Was Ad Lab what got you started in all this? Like, you don't have
Um,
to give your break-in story just yet, but I'm just curious. Were you a part of Ad Lab?
yes. So I was a part of the ad lab. The ad lab is like the advertising program at BYU. So
Okay.
yeah, they're one and the same. It's part of the comm school, but then
Ah,
if you apply to the advertising program, you can use the ad lab, which is technically like the student advertising, and they do more. The ad lab does more projects than just kind of like
um,
extracurricular projects outside of what you would do in your normal coursework.
okay. All right, we'll
If
get
that
to that
makes
in a
sense.
little. We'll get to that more so. But so you grew up in Utah. Beautiful. I've never been to the campus, but gotta be beautiful there. Utah is one of the best states.
It is.
Yeah.
It is quite beautiful. We experience all four seasons, which is quite unique for some places. But yeah, next to the mountains, pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Okay. What about your role? What do you do at RGA? You're a junior art director, and that's recent. That is the past 3 months, or maybe a little bit more, maybe a little less. Who knows on LinkedIn if it's accurate? But tell us about your role specifically as a junior art director. What do you do?
Um, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm still actually figuring out everything that I do, and I feel like every day, every week, there's something new that I learn. But we just, as a junior art director, I've got um, a partner copywriter, and she and we just get briefed on the clients, and then we get to come up with like big ideas and pitch them right alongside we pitch them alongside the ACDs and the CDs and whoever else is on that whoever else is on the client as well. And not all our stuff gets picked, and sometimes it doesn't even make it to the client. Sometimes it gets killed in the internal reviews, but still we're just I hope that answers the question. It's not
Yeah,
very
I
yeah
mean,
it doesn't feel like work if people say, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I just think of ads. I think of campaign ideas. That's all I do."
yeah,
I mean, yeah. So that's at the moment. That's a majority of what I do. I think it still helps that I'm new, and so I'm sure, but I don't have all the. There's not as much busy work. It's kind of all fun work at the moment.
okay.
So
Yeah,
I've
we're document. This is a documentation of the process so far. So this is.
yeah,
I'm going to be. You'll have to listen to this, in a year from now and see where you're at. But this is
for
great
sure.
that you have this all documented from your start. And how has it been stressful? I mean, and what's the process like? Is it you're briefed? The strategists give you the brief. Is it pretty normal from what you learned in college? What's the process like?
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly. It's like really similar to what I experienced in college. We'd get a brief, or there'd be a full team brief where the strategist had prepared a nice deck and filled with the insight, kind of like the creative direction and where the client wants to go, maybe some creative thought starters as well. And then after that, we're kind of just let loose. I'd say we're given the opportunity to go and think. Our my CD Kevin Kohler, he's real great in like helping us kind of like give us stricter guidelines and saying, okay, the client wants this, but I would like, after dealing with the client for X amount of years, like they usually like this and this, and you
Hmm.
don't worry about this. Like you've been given a lot of information, but kind of like narrow it down onto this. And so then that kind of gives us a place to go forth, and whether we're thinking about big ideas for campaigns or specific activations, and writing those down, preparing them, making mock-ups and comps and stuff like that.
And you're partnered with a copywriter.
Yeah, partner with a copywriter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you and your copywriter get briefed, what's the next step? I mean, this is so hard when you're starting virtually, but
yeah,
what how do you attack that virtually? You and your copywriter, you got a brief. What's the next step?
So in the past sometimes we'll think about it like alone, and we give each other a few hours to kind of just like collect our thoughts. After your brief, there's kind of a lot of, is kind of like you were drinking from the fire hose, tons of information. But after that, we'll hop on. Sometimes we don't even talk about the brief for a few minutes. We're just like talking.
Yeah.
We'll get distracted a lot, and we just kind of like let it. We kind of just let it go. And see where it ends up. And usually that's where like some of the good ideas are from, when we're just like, I recently saw this movie, or have you seen this episode of such TV show, or I just saw this meme, I just saw this TikTok. All that stuff kind of like comes together, and that's where sometimes I say our best ideas have come from. Starting virtually is definitely weird because there isn't a lot of structure. Like I can't say, hey, we were just briefed, what's the next step, when do I need to have these ideas by, what do you want to see? It's a lot harder, and it's kind of scary to like message the CDs or the ACDs. Kind of like reaching out, hey, what do I need to do next? I don't know, I found it a little intimidating.
You need the parameters. You need those. You need the guidelines to just. Sometimes creative parameters will make you even more creative. You want those boundaries, and you need those deadlines to survive. Or at least that's how my brain works. I couldn't just be let off loose and be like, okay, here's our brief. Get back to me. No. When is it due by? What are you looking for? Give me the details, and then we'll craft you up something good.
Yeah. So, but luckily, like, I do have a really good mentor here at RGA, and so it's like, although it's intimidating, it has, like, I've quickly learned that everyone's been really nice, and everyone's willing to answer my stupid questions, or when is this due, or when is the next meeting. They've all been really good at steering me in the right direction in those terms.
Nice. Love that. RGA is cool. RGA, I mean, when I was a senior in college at University of Illinois, we toured RGA in New York, and it was the coolest experience. That and Droga 5.
Oh, I'm sure.
Of course, Droga 5 is great. But RGA was so cool. The New York headquarters with the LED screen wrapping around the headquarters there, and the corkboard floors that make it really quiet, even though it's open space and there's so many people. It's like the size of a block in New York. So it was a really cool experience for sure.
Yeah. But I've actually never been I haven't toured any of the offices. This semester we were going to tour all the offices was when COVID hit. So it was like all the office tours, the study abroad where you go and see everything that was unfortunately canceled. So I haven't. I've heard it's really great. I heard it's like a spaceship, the New York office.
Yeah.
So
the thing I want to tell you is, like, and to the listeners, if you're starting off virtually and you are at an agency, just know it's a lot cooler when you're in person, and like hang tight. Don't let go, because everybody's going through this right now, but you have to remember, if you got to RGA, and that's incredible. Like when you show up in person, you see everybody, like you're gonna be mesmerized, and you're gonna be just as excited when you first got that offer. Because I know it can be intimidating. It can be like, it can put you down when you're just virtual, but just hang tight.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone and exploring the office, getting there and everything.
Yeah. So we talked about it a little bit before, but can you tell us some of the clients that RGA in San Francisco might be working on, or what you're working on? What's the landscape like? Because I know every industry office or every office in different locations can vary because they're clients. What's it look like in San Francisco?
I think some of the so the clients that I know for sure, the two clients that I'm on, um, with, oh my gosh, Reddit and EA Electronic Arts are the two
Mhm.
clients that I am on. But there's like a whole wide range of clients. RGA is really unique in the sense that they do operate as a network. Although, so I'm in the San Francisco office, but the in terms of the clients are pretty fluid and they move them around based on
Oh,
um,
interesting.
like based on the needs. And so does that make sense?
Yeah,
I hope that's not incorrect. I've been told a lot of stuff, and
that's
watching
fine.
it as everything um, moves around, and
Well,
just where different
well,
creatives are and
is
stuff like
it
that.
is it independent or is it owned by a holding company? Do you know?
So RGA is owned by IPG.
Yes. Right. Gotcha. And what I remember about RGA in New York was the business transformation sector that was so impressive that they were like expanding its offering in 2019.
Yes, and to be honest, I don't know much other than what I do, and
Sure.
there's a lot of RGA offers a lot more than advertising, but I, to be completely honest, don't
Yeah.
know. I know there's a lot of like UX,
Well,
UI design, graphic design, and
right.
rebranding and stuff like that, as they are.
Yeah, that's more
You know.
like what I meant by business transformation is like they have this consulting sector within
Oh, cool.
their New York office that they were really trying to grow and differentiate with the rise of these agencies combining and digital consulting companies acquiring some agencies like Accenture. Sorry for the pause there. Accenture
No, you're good.
acquired Droga 5. So
Okay.
that was like their answer to all these mergers and acquisitions to stay
Oh,
relevant
cool.
as an ad agency, full service, and more than just an ad agency. So RGA, great company, great Twitter account. I think I talked about it multiple times. If you're
Yeah.
going to be an ad Twitter and you want to like get a job, you got to be an ad Twitter. And ad Twitter is a sector of who you follow. Obviously, your interests. If you like football, you'll be in football Twitter by liking people. If you like basketball, you'll follow Woj and you'll be in Twitter, basketball, NBA Twitter. But if you follow RGA, that will be a really good first step into getting into ad Twitter, advertising Twitter. It's a really cool place to be in. Are you following RGA on Twitter?
I actually don't have a Twitter,
Okay. No,
which like looking back, I'm like, oh, maybe I need a Twitter. Maybe I need to follow, as so much of the world happens on Twitter and
nah, it's
news.
really more for copywriters.
Yeah,
Copywriters love it and they need
but I
it.
do, occasionally I will look up on Twitter and read through the RGA tweets or go through.
They're
But
funny. They're really funny. And I remember being there. I'm like, okay, who writes the tweets here? Let me find them.
yeah,
But okay. Anything else I mean, you had to be so pumped when you got RGA as your first job out of college. Any other things you want to know just about RGA that we should know about that's really interesting, that why you love it or what you're excited by or what, even the small potential that you've seen so far? Anything else you want to talk about RGA?
um, yeah. I really think, even though it is like a bigger agency with offices around the world, I think each office kind of has its own culture and the way they do things, and it's been really cool to see how um, how the California office operates, and it's been fun. I've really enjoyed it. Everyone's really nice, and even though it's got a big name, there aren't a lot of egos in the California office. Like I've heard, and you hear people talk about, oh, if they've gone to like big agency, usually means a big ego. People aren't very
Mhm.
kind. That is definitely not the way um, the RGA is.
Gotcha. Love it. Love to hear that. Okay, let's kick it back to how you got involved with advertising. So I'll let you pick your starting point. When was the moment when you said, "Hey, I want to do this. This is what I want to be in advertising," whether it was junior art director or just advertising in general? What was that moment like?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a question that I've answered a lot as I've been interviewing. Everyone's always like, "Where did you get in? What'd you do? How'd you get into advertising? How'd you find it?" I think it started my freshman year in college. I wanted to go into BYU, or I wanted to go into graphic design. My father is a professional artist, and he kind of like knows graphic design, like a little bit of the industry. And he was like, don't go into graphic design just yet. It's a little saturated. Like, there's a lot of people. I'd hold off on that. And then one day he was like, "Oh, you should try, you want to go into graphic design, you should try UX design. That's kind of similar. It's like the field is growing with, all that stuff. Like UX design is more profitable than graphic design, blah, blah, blah." And then BYU didn't have a UX program. Like, it was still so new. So I kind of had to choose, kind of pick your major, so-and-so, or pick your major. And so I chose marketing and then like CS. And I was like, okay, if I do these two, I could do an UX, but I hated the marketing. And I'm not a numbers guy. So I was like sitting in the marketing class, sitting in the accounting class, just like, what am I doing here? I don't want to be learning this. I'm terrible at the accounting. Got C's on all the accounting tests. And then I took the intro to ad class at BYU, which was a great introduction class. It went through all the different aspects: copywriting, account direction, strategy, and of course art direction and stuff like that. So then once I got into that class, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the place for me. I can be funny. I can be artistic. I can be myself, really. Like, I don't like, there are no, like, they want people to be themselves, and that's kind of like the thing that stuck with me and that I've really enjoyed, going through school and now at RGA.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys got a great program over at BYU, so I'm sure it kind of scooped you in pretty easily. What was some of the important work or lessons you learned in college that got you your first job or internships, whatever it may be? What was foundational?
Oh shoot. I think some of the big lessons in college that I learned, whether it was from mentors or professors, and it was just like, make the work you want to make in college, because that's what you're going to get hired for in the real world. After you graduate, like, if you're making boring work and stuff you don't want to be making throughout for the rest of your life, don't make that in college. And so I kind of took that to heart and pushed myself and explored different different avenues, different funny or sad or serious, or work for good. And it was, I think that's like the best advice that I got in college.
Yeah, no, it's very true. The work you make in college is what you're going to be looked at when you're applying, especially if you're a creative, if you want to be in art direction or copywriting. Now even strategists have to show your work. And I won't be surprised when account directors will have to show their work too, and the work and their process and their clientele and their Rolodex, and I don't know, their stock. Like, that's just what I'm predicting. Just so you got to be able to show your work, and your work matters
For sure.
the most. So that's good that you learned that early, because then you didn't have to go to portfolio school.
Yeah.
A lot of people realize the hard way that the work they did in college, for the class project, or, the NSAC that you worked on for Adobe, shots fired, may not may not be picked up by. I shouldn't have said that, but I said it. Your work for Adobe on the NSAC might not get you into RGA. It might not get you into Wyden Kennedy if it's not great. Now, I'm saying it's not impossible, but you're going to need multiple campaigns. And this is by no way a plug for Portfolio School, because you can do this all in undergrad. You just have to learn it early on. The spec work, that stuff matters. Award briefs, that stuff matters. Looking at good work rather than, fulfilling a classroom project. And BYU is one of the undergrad programs. Texas, there are some programs that really teach that well, and a lot don't. Oregon.
Yeah, I will say, in addition to like outside, like doing outside work, I believe when you interviewed Maddie, she had done all those. She had done the camp adventure, creative circus, summer camp. I may have read that wrong, but
No, you're right. You're right.
But doing those is a great way to build your portfolio. I think I did one, like the one show mentorship program, and they paired three
That's good.
three students together with a real agency, and so we had
beautiful
mentorship for, I think it was with Venables Bell and Partners. So we had a copywriter, art director duo there, like mentoring us doing the work, and that was a great way to see and experience great work and learn how to make good work.
That's really interesting. That's a great opportunity. So definitely go check that out if you're listening. Nice. So you worked hard. You figured out early that your work in college will get you hired. So
yeah.
Did you have internships, or did those contribute to your success in getting hired out of college? What was the deal with that?
I did not have an internship.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, no, I didn't do an internship. I did. Well, yes, I did. So I was in the same internship as Maddie Getgood with the camp adventure, working with familiar creatures. That whole summer's kind of a blur.
Oh, did Maddie?
To be honest. So yes, I did do that internship, but after, like, post graduation, that was the summer between my junior and senior year. So post senior year, I didn't participate in any. I didn't have an internship, whether I didn't, get one from interviewing, or just, that's the way it worked out.
Yeah. It all worked out either way. So how did you get the interview at RGA?
It was Kevin the CD posted on LinkedIn, "Hey, we're looking for creatives, junior to mid-level."
And you just followed this random guy?
Yeah.
How'd you know him?
It was like, I didn't know him. And it was, at the time I didn't know him. Now I know him. But it was just, how LinkedIn, it'll be like, your connection, so-and-so liked this. And then it shows you the thing. It was one of those.
Nice.
So-and-so had commented on this. And I was like, oh, I like RGA. They make good work. And so I sent him a direct message. Luckily, he had LinkedIn Premium, so I didn't need to request and send a LinkedIn. So I just sent him a DM.
Nice.
"Hey, Kevin, I just saw your post. Here's my book. Would love to learn more about the opportunity." And then he looked over it. A few weeks later, I got a call I got an email from the recruiter, and the rest is history.
There you go. That's your break-in.
There we go.
But you had a good portfolio, obviously. You put some work into it. What's your favorite thing on your portfolio?
The thing that the ad thing that I like the most.
I like the font. I like your font thing.
Yes. So Jameson's is probably like my favorite thing, and it's like the thing that I feel is most me. And I'm still like trying to figure out how to incorporate it in everything. And I love using it.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's like my favorite thing that I've made in that one. But in terms of campaign wise, I really like the KitchenAid
Oh
spot
yeah,
that
you
we.
guys do a lot of video work over at the ad lab. What's with the video work? It's really impressive. It's far ahead of.
Yeah. So BYU focuses a lot on um, not just like one show, DNAD, but also like the student Emmys and
Yeah,
the other like video focused work. And the professors Jeff Sheets and Pat Doyle have done a really good job of um,
incorporating those.
of bringing in um, not just copywriters and art directors, but there's a third track in the under the creatives, which is like we call them content creators.
Yep.
I think that's an up and coming term, but they're like the directors and the director of photography, editors,
Yeah.
animators, and all that stuff. So they've done a really good job of not just making print ads and giving us campaign ideas, but also letting us art direct a set, write a script, participate on the set, and make videos.
Yeah, it's a great experience. So the KitchenAid one I remember seeing was really interesting. So yeah, everybody we'll pause it there. Everybody will have to check that out. My last question, and we'll link to all your stuff in our Instagram at Breaking Entering Pod. Last question of the show is second to last question is, what's one thing you wish you would be able to tell your younger self? So maybe freshman year in college, go back in time. What would you tell yourself?
What would I tell myself? I think I'd tell myself that, and I eventually found advertising, right? But I think I would tell myself, hey, advertising's out there. Like that's an actual job. Kind of get myself on the track a little bit quicker. And then I'd also tell myself, look up more ads, like really like collect that database of ads that you like and videos that you like and styles that you like. I don't feel like I've got a great database, like internal or like references. That's something that I wish I had. I wish I had more of.
I like that. Luke Sullivan said in his book, Hey, Whipple, Squeeze This, that a stack of communication arts 3 feet tall is the ultimate advertising grad school.
Exactly.
Look through those award-winning work, CA, DNAD, one show winners, go online, Webbies, and then compile all that research. And then you'll have a good database, like you said. So
yeah,
I love that. Jameson, how can people reach out to you if they're curious about you or GA or your past work? What's the way to do it?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn, email me, whatever, Instagram if you want, whatever works.
Great. Like I said, our Instagram is at Breaking and Entering Pod, all one word, Breaking and Entering Pod. So that is all I got, Jameson. Unless there's anything else that you're dying to get out there to the world, was there anything you really want to talk about? But I had no more questions.
No, I don't have anything. Thanks for having me.
This has been great. Your story really tells that it's important to focus on your craft in college, because that's what's going to get you hired. So I appreciate you taking the time. Did you hear anything on this episode about a job you'd like to have someday, soon, in advertising, strategy, design? The kind of job where you use your brain and your creativity? If you did, chances are a portfolio can really help you get that job. That's where Chicago Portfolio School comes in. They have programs and classes that help you show off your thinking and get you the job you want. So visit them at chicagoportfolio.com. And if you drop my name, Gino, into the chat box, they'll send you more info and a cool Sharpie. Or just some more info. You can decide that. Thanks. Thank you so much for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. If you like what you heard, it would mean a lot to us and help us grow and get better guests and better break-ins if you can go to Apple Podcasts and leave us 5 stars and a small review if you have the time. Be sure to connect with our guests if you like what they said by going to our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod. That's all one word, Breaking and Entering Pod on Instagram. We have links to their portfolios and their LinkedIn, and they want to connect, so do that. And thank yous. Thank you to Mikey Malarkey, our audio engineer, and Buchan Zhang, our creative director. Can't do it without you two, and a team from the University of Illinois. It's a student team from the agency called AdBuzz. They're a PR agency, and it's been a pleasure working with them. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next week with another amazing guest.